this week's episode of Ushio and Tora. Ushio, Tora, the Beast Spear, and Nakamura have all been abducted by the evil Hammer Institute. For me personally, this was probably one of my favorite episodes because it's the first time that we've actually seen what happens when modern technology goes up against ancient demons and yokai. This episode introduced this brand new organization, which is the H.A.M.M.R Institute, which is Hero Anti-Metamorphose Measure Research. These guys are basically trying to figure out how they can destroy the Hakumen no Mono, as well as extracting the secrets and powers from multiple demons and yokai. What's really cool about this episode as well is that it fully expands more on the world of Ushio and Tora, emphasizing the fact that not all of these yokai and demons exclusively come from Japan. They've already been hinted that they've come from China, but we get to see ones that come from European nations and even from India. So this is definitely an eye-opening episode of Ushio and Tora. It also happened to be really action-packed and honestly kind of disturbing because this H.A.M.M.R Institute is led by these three scientists who are just completely obsessed with learning about the secrets of the Beast Spear, and they've been following Ushio for a very long time. What's really interesting is even the Kohamai sect even mentions that the H.A.M.M.R Institute is a thing, and apparently they've gone rogue, and this is the point where basically they're getting ready to perform their final task so that they can try to figure out how to destroy the Hakumen no Mono. So they do have good intentions because they want to defeat this ultimate evil. And it's really messed up how they're actually going about doing this because they're traveling around the world, they're finding all these various yokai, they're imprisoning them, and then they start to perform these weird freaky experiments on them. And if the Ushio and Tora series has taught us anything, it's that you can't judge a book by its cover. This is fully emphasized later in the episode when Ushio is captured by these scientists and Tora and Nakamura have to go after him. And she's going around the building and she sees all of these various ghosts and yokai and demon who are basically all locked up and they have all these wires hooked up to them. Basically, they're doing experiments on them. And she finds this one young little kid who just looks like a normal human, but he's actually this European ghost which is known as a baldander. I'm not really sure what the hell that is, but he has the ability to transform into this giant blue ogreish looking creature. And he's actually a good character, and Nakamura decides to set him free. The problem is, this is another one of those cases where when science starts to meddle into, like, the occult, they discover something that they really shouldn't, because they're experimenting on the Beast Spear, and they're trying to take fragments from it so that they can find a little bit of the Hakumen no Mono's body so that they can find some sort of weakness. The problem is, when they do this, the Hakumen no Mono somehow is able to become sentient, like this small part of it, and it actually transforms into this massive, like, shard of the Beast Spear with these spider legs, and it has the ability to absorb all of the yokai around it, and it goes on a rampage through this, like, research facility. And the thing is, Ushio isn't exactly at the top of his game quite yet, because they've been beating him, and they put this sedative into his body, and they've been trying to test him out with the Beast Spear. They even put him up against this robot, which has all of these pistons and these weird things which shoot out of its body, which unfortunately we didn't get too much from that. But one of the coolest things about this episode, which sort of goes hand in hand with the last episode, is we get to see Tora interacting more with Ushio's friends. Case in point, Nakamura in this week's episode, who of course is Ushio's love interest, but proves yet again that she's actually a pretty awesome character in her own right. They have this plan where she's going to go into the research center, and she has one of Tora's hairs wrapped around her finger, and whenever she finds Ushio, all she has to do is pull on this hair, and suddenly Tora's just going to show up out of nowhere. That's the only thing that kind of sucks about this episode. There's not a lot of Tora action, which is kind of disappointing. At the beginning of the episode, we even get to see that these scientists have these weapons, which can completely immobilize the yokai. It literally looks like it's like crushing Tora's body, and he claims that he did this because he just wanted to find Ushio. I still think that that attack really caught him by surprise. But that's also one of the reasons why Tora just can't run into this building, because they have all of these weapons which are completely effective against his kind. So Nakamura is going to have to go in there solid snake style to end up saving the day. Now, like I said, the Hakumen no Mono starts to go rogue and just run around the research center, absorbing all of these monsters and actually able to use their, like, abilities. You can actually see them actually emerging from its skin, which looks really creepy. So obviously, it's another version of Hakumen no Mono that we've never seen before. It's very distinctive of it. It even has the sharp mouth and even the real creepy eyes. And the episode ends on this big cliffhanger with Tora getting ready to run in and start kicking some ass. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Ushio and Tora? Again, I think the most interesting concept is that we have technology versus ancient demons, which is something that has never even been brought up in the series. Everything before has just been like using sealing techniques and tags and all of these ancient things, which frankly are kind of hard to associate like with modern society, and that's why they decided to bring all these other characters in who are really disturbing, and they've been showing them in the intro for a long time, so I've been waiting to see how these characters were going to pop up. And the three real stars of this episode are definitely those three scientists who are really creepy and extremely haggard looking. They look like they're just completely obsessed with like their work, and that's all they live for. It's frankly kind of disturbing, but by the end of the episode, you can kind of tell that they realize that what they're doing is not quite right, and reluctantly they are going to have to end up helping them out, probably because they still want to do some research on the beast spear. The problem is, I really wish these guys could actually work with a Kohamai sect. They clearly have some people who know a lot about this stuff. They have some weaponry, which would be really effective against the yokai and maybe even the avatars of the Hakumen no Mono, but as they said at the beginning of the episode, they're going rogue. We even get to see the return of that one pilot character who was seen in the episode when Ushio and Tora were on the plane. He's the one who actually was talking to Ushio's dad, mentioning that the H.A.M.M.R organization has gone rogue. And it's also just, it's cheesy good fun that they're called the H.A.M.M.R organization, except that there isn't an E there. Could they not think of something to put it there? That being said, it's definitely one of the more memorable episodes that I've seen from this arc, if only for the fact that it's so different from the previous episodes. I also really loved the tone of this one, and just how crazy mad Ushio was in this episode when they were actually looking at the composition of the beast spear, which I think was probably the most effective part of the episode, because of course they're just looking at like the normal composition at first, like nickel and iron and all that other stuff, but Ushio was thinking, no, there's more to it than that. There's actually living beings which are composed of the beast spear, and they don't know that at all. Maybe they did figure that out at the end, but that's when the Hakumen no Mono finally started to go on the attack. So this was a fantastic episode, which was a great like sci-fi sort of like episode that I honestly did not expect from Ushio and Tora, and that definitely made this one of the most, if not the most distinctive episode of the entire series. It was also great to see the return of Nakamura. I think she's a really fun character, and seeing her interactions with Ushio is great, and it was great how last week you had the character of Inoue who was getting in there and doing her thing, and then this week it's Nakamura's turn. So that's pretty freaking awesome. I totally love that. Also, the animation, the artwork, in particular the artwork this week, looked pretty good. That final scene with Tora running through the building and blasting through the walls looked really exciting, and it was a great cliffhanger. On the technical side of things, like I said again, it was a very nice looking episode. Nothing groundbreaking, but pretty good for Ushio and Tora fans. So I liked this episode a lot. It was a real pleasant surprise. I liked it a lot more than last week's, and I like that we're sort of getting back on track to the Hakumen no Mono story, but again, we're doing something completely different with this one. I can't wait to see how they're going to wrap it up. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 5 out of 5. I really liked it a lot. I just didn't expect like a story like this was going to pop up in Ushio and Tora, and I can't wait to see how they're going to wrap it up in the next episode, especially considering we're almost at the end of the first season of Ushio and Tora. They're going to take a small break, and then they're going to go back and they're going to do, like, I think another 13 episodes to round out the series and conclude the story. I cannot wait to see that go down. So, great episode. I loved it. 5 out of 5 for me. But I want to hear from you guys. Did you watch this week's episode of Ushio and Tora? Did you have a favorite scene? What did you think of these creepy scientists in the H.A.M.M.R Institute? Do you think we're going to see more of them in the conclusion of the series? And what do you want to see from the rest of Ushio and Tora? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. A lot of you guys have probably realized that I've been doing all these Star Wars videos for the last 100 days, and I just got done seeing The Force Awakens, and I said I was going to do a review for Friday, but I'm going to go see the movie one more time to try and absorb it just a little bit more, so stay tuned. That review will either be out really late tonight or really early tomorrow morning, because I just gotta talk about that movie. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. That's all I'm gonna say right now. But thank you guys again for watching. Really appreciate it. And as always, stay dandy, baby.